guys? Sarah Winstead here, bikini athlete and coach for Pro Physique. And today I have a much requested video for you. If you follow me on Instagram, you will see occasionally I'll share clips, some videos of my mobility flow, specifically for my hips, glutes, and lower back. I found that these three areas, especially for competitors, tend to get pretty tight with regards to posing, training, fatigue, everything like that. And if our hips and our hip flexors are tight, if we are sitting at a desk for a lot of our day, our hips are flexed and they're going to be tight. And so that means that our glutes may not fire as optimally as possible. And so I've been incorporating this. I try to do it, try to get better at it, obviously, about 4, maybe 5 days a week. And I feel like it's really helped just my mind-muscle connection, obviously range of motion with your hips, low back, posing as well. Like low back is so involved in posing for competitors. And so I encourage you guys, as I move through this today, I'm going to cue you through the movements. We're going to go through the entire thing, so feel free to follow along. As I go through this, find some movements, find some ideas from this video that you really feel as far as like, ooh, okay, my hips felt better after I did this, or my glutes felt looser after I did this. And I encourage you to create your own mobility flow on your own. I've taken this from various yoga classes that I've attended and various physical therapists that I've worked with as well. I am by no means either of these, a yoga instructor or a physical therapist, so I do apologize if my form and my cueing or the way I name things is a little bit off, but again, this is about creating what works best for you. And so I wanted to share this with you guys today. If you guys are experiencing any like this tightness in your hips or glutes or low back, I hope you do find this helpful. Feel free, share this video, and if you can do some of these movements, tag me on Instagram. I love to see people working on their recovery, because if you've watched my YouTube before, you know recovery is where the magic happens. That's where muscle building happens. If the muscles are constantly tight and inflamed and sore and everything like that and not able to move, then we're not going to get stronger. So thank you in advance, guys, for watching. Let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start on all fours, tabletop position. We're going to go through some cat-cows. So we're going to inhale, round the back. Exhale, arch the back. Emphasis. Round. Exhale, arch, and look up. You should feel a lot of core muscles starting to get warm, that low back starting to get warm. Let's do one more for good measure. This is number 4. And exhale. All right, so a more advanced version of this, which is actually really good for your transverse abdominis and your lower back muscles, is going to be, hey, let's create a nice flat back, and then without moving our upper back, let's see if we can do the same thing. So inhale, see if you can round, tuck the butt. Exhale, see if you can arch without moving the upper back. It's hard to do, but this is a good progression for this. One more, and done. All right, back to that neutral tabletop position. We're going to do some thoracic rotations. So left hand on your head, don't pull on your neck, but keep your hips square and then rotate up towards the ceiling. You'll notice my thoracic spine is very tight. Let's do 3, and then we will switch sides. Right arm, twist. This is very good for that bikini front pose where you're trying to put your boobs towards the judges and everything else stays put. That is a lot of thoracic spine rotation. So we'll take a second, go into child's pose. That's going to be your toes together, your knees a little bit wider than your hips. Sink your hips back, push your palms forward, and then you can lay your chin down, or you can choose one side, right side or opposite side, to lay your face down, but make sure, as with everything, balance. So if you spend a couple of seconds here, switch sides. We want to make sure we are nice and even here. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to push up into down dog. Now, curl your toes underneath, push up, and then kind of find your center with this with down dog. Then you're going to want, what you're going to want to do eventually, you can actually start from a plank position and then kind of pushing your hips up and your hips back. So I kind of play with this a little bit as far as my angles are concerned and what works for my body. Find what works best for you as far as your down dog goes.
But essentially you're pushing that chest down towards your toes, and then you're pushing your hips up and back. You should feel a stretch in your calves, in your hamstrings, and a lot of things on the back side. So we're going to take a couple of deep breaths here. 1. Yep. 2. All right, then we're going to pick one foot up, toe stays pointed downward, so right leg lifts, come through, plant it down, and then we're going to go into a hip flexor stretch here. So to stretch the hip flexor on this left side here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to intentionally rotate the pelvis under and tuck your butt and squeeze the living daylights out of it. You're going to feel a pull in your hip flexor if you're doing this right. It takes some getting used to, but it sounds counterintuitive. So intentionally roll under and squeeze that butt. You're going to feel a pull right here. So hold 1, 2, and 3. To make this more advanced, come forward, palms out, feeling even more of a stretch right here. And then I like coming back into a hamstring stretch from this, kind of leaning back forward. I am very tight on my hamstrings, and so the idea is the weight shifts back, and then we can go into a push-up position to up dog, and then back to downward facing dog. All right. I told you there's some weird names, but I don't know all of them. All right, we're going to do the left side. So we've got to stay balanced here. Left leg lifts, thread it through again, right knee drops, come up. You're going to do the same hip flexor stretch on the other side. Tuck the butt, squeeze the glute. 1, 2, 3. And then you can kind of lean forward, making sure that chest stays nice and tall. Palms out. Coming back into the hamstring stretch here. All along this area. You get better at this as you do it more. Awesome. And then we'll go into the vinyasa. So stepping back into plank position, lowering down as low as you're comfortable with. Pushing through to up dog. And then back to downward facing dog. All right. It's at this point that I take a child's pose. Because I'm like, blood is flowing. We're doing really good right now. Remember, toes together, knees wide, chest forward. 1, 2, 3. All right. Now that you had your couple second break, let's go back up into down dog. Now, this is more of an advanced movement, but we'll see if we can do this. All right. Right leg lifts, and then you're going to push and stack your hips on one side, all right? If you want to flip your dog, you can, but I don't do that. And then you're going to step that right foot forward into a lunge position. You're going to spin that back foot down and then come up into warrior one position. All right, some things to note here. Knee and toe are aligned. Hips are trying to be square towards the front. And then you can open up into warrior two position here. Making sure this back arm is very strong. It doesn't just like flop around. And then coming back. And then, if you really want to challenge yourself, you can do this. Coming up into almost like warrior three, but I kind of modify it a little bit. Step forward in one motion. Obviously, not doing it today. Step forward in one motion into standing position. And then you can kick the leg back if you want to. And then go into warrior three. Now, key here. This toe back here is pointed downward. My hips are trying to be square. This is hard. I'm not going to lie. This is hard. Even harder. Standing split. Hamstrings. Hello, hamstrings. And then drop your left foot down. You can sweep the floor and go into chair pose. Which if you're a bodybuilder, you know how to do this really well because basically it's like a squat. Knees, toes are forward. Weight is in your heels. Feel it in your glutes. Chest is nice and tall. Stand up, fold forward. Halfway lift. Come back down again and go back into your vinyasa. And then push the hips back into down dog. Now, that was the right side. We're going to do the left side. Up. Stack the hips. Bring that left foot forward, spin that right foot down, come up into warrior one, spin out into warrior two, stretch backwards, open up that back side of the body, and then, if you can, we're going to try it again. Step forward. Oh, I did it. Yay! And bend the knee, flex the foot, balance, kick the foot back if you are so inclined, and then go into warrior three pose. You should feel a nice stretch in your hips right now. Coming forward into standing splits, and then bringing the right foot forward, sweeping the ground into chair pose here. If you want to challenge yourself and sink a little bit lower, go for it. And then folding forward, halfway lift, flatten your back out and pull and retract your shoulder blades down. Come back down again. This time I like to grab opposite elbows, let my head hang, and then kind of sway side to side. Feels really good on those hamstrings and really good on that low back. Just let the head hang. This is great, great work for the hamstrings here. And then hands down, back into your vinyasa. You can always skip the vinyasa part if you are so inclined to do so. That's totally fine. All right, the last thing here before we head to the floor is going to be, I almost call it kind of a runner's lunge, but it's a runner's lunge stretch. So I drop the back knee forward. The foot here is framed by initially both my hands, but I will try to drive whatever foot is forward, drive that opposite elbow down. You'll feel a nice stretch in your hips and your adductors here if you're doing it correctly. This is a fantastic stretch. And then I will switch sides. It's not exactly like, beautiful, but I'm making it work. So left foot forward here, left elbow tries to get down to the floor here, but everything is still square and pointed forward. Holding it, again, you should feel it all up in here. It's a lot. All right, perfect. Now we're gonna go moving over to one of our last standing exercises. So straddle position here. I like to turn my toes slightly outward. It's a personal preference for you, but we're gonna stand up and then we're going to just start to fold forward. Feeling a nice stretch in the hamstrings here. You can let your hands touch if you want to walk them back, you can, but still holding that nice stretch here for the hamstrings. And then go into some side lunges from there. So lunge down. I like challenging myself by having the hand point out straight. It encourages my chest to stay nice and tall. And then switching to the other side. A lot of people can do this without having to put their hand on the floor. I am not one of those people. You'll also feel a stretch here in your adductors as well as probably in your hips a little bit as well. Last one here. And then bringing your feet a little wider than hip distance apart because we are going to do a deep squat basically from here. So squatting down, and they call this malasana, I want to say, in yoga. I just call it an ass to grass squat. So squatting down here, I like trying to push my knees out if I can. This is where my hips are very, very, very tight. I will try to actively push my knees out. Judge and do your own thing here if you need to. It's totally okay. Do what feels good. Don't just continue to push and push and push. It's all about finding what works for you. All right. Twist to one side. Twist to the other side. We're going to do one more here. And one more here. All right. Next one I like to do is called 90-90s. So basically, essentially, you're creating a 90-degree angle between your front leg and your back leg. This is also where you're going to see how mobile my hips are not. So 90 degrees here and 90 degrees here. You're going to be trying to sit nice and tall here, but you're also going to be trying to do a rotation to the other side. And so rotating back, you should feel something in this hip right now, and then coming back here.
So you will get better at these over time. You're gonna be feeling it in the back leg hip. It is fantastic. One of my favorite hip opener and hip flexor exercises. If you wanna get real fancy, you can challenge yourself to lift up this back leg while staying nice and straight. So I'd have to put like balance. Not really that great at it. One more and 3. Then we're gonna try the back side. This is how you progress. This is how you grow. You gotta challenge yourself. All right, lift. Oh gosh, lift. One more, lift. We're gonna get better at that over time. And then coming back here. All right. Next exercise, next mobility work is gonna be into the hips again. It's called frog. Love, love, love to hate this movement. All right, you're gonna choose a width of your knees that is comfortable for you. You'll notice I'm not very deep here into my knees. I'm not like on the floor with this. So finding where you feel a stretch in your adductors, but you're also gonna feel it in your hips as well. You're gonna walk yourself out. I kind of encourage people to get down on their elbows if you can with this movement, making sure your feet are facing outward. What you're gonna do is you're gonna casually rock kind of back and forth, and you're gonna find your edge. You're gonna find your edge in this movement. You're gonna play with it a little bit. I like doing this more dynamically. And then when you find your edge, sit there for a second. Challenge yourself. Breathe. This really, really sucks. I am saying all of the 4-letter words in my head right now. Just rocking, find the edge, breathe. It's gonna get better. You can really tell if this movement is getting better by how deep you can go over time. So, and then we'll just have some fun. We're gonna add in some leg lifts while we're in this position because, you know, hips. Lift, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, one more, 1 and 2. All right. We made it to the floor, guys. All right. Now, because a lot of things are warm right now, I do feel more comfortable going into more static holds towards the end of the mobility flow. So, flex your feet, going into the standard, everyone loves to hate, hamstring stretch. Actively, you can try to keep your chest tall as you're going down, but let's be real, it's not gonna happen. So, feeling a stretch here. If you want to feel even more of a stretch, try to actively engage your quads. You'll feel it a whole lot more in your hamstrings, in your calves too. Hold here. Then you're gonna cross one foot at the knee of the other leg, and then you're gonna give it a hug. You should feel this in your glutes. And then we're gonna twist off of that as well. So actively pushing the elbow into the knee and pushing it towards the opposite leg. And then we're gonna switch sides. Nice little hug here. This is great, feeling it nice here in the glutes. And then going into a twist, kind of like a pretzel, I guess. All right, butterfly. Remember old school butterfly from PE class? They had something there. So pulling the feet in as close as you can. You should feel it in your adductors, sitting up nice and tall as you do this. I'm actively trying to push my elbows into my knees a little bit here too. And then I go into kind of diamond, into where you kind of push your feet out a little bit further. And then what you can also do is start to fold over this as well. You'll feel this as well deep into your hips. All right, moving into seated pigeon. Now, pigeon and I have a very, very not so fun relationship, but maybe y'all can do better than I can. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna cross one foot over the other at the knee, and you're gonna wanna have a nice flat top here and almost a 90-degree angle at the top here as well. And so what you're gonna wanna do is I actively try to push into the leg. You will feel a stretch in your hips, and it's not a fun one, folks, but it is a good one, and it's gonna help over time, I promise. It's a great stretch. I really like this stretch a lot. It's really good for the hip openers. And then you will switch. So cross the other foot over at the knee, kind of scoot yourself back, and then when you're ready to push forward, you can. Making sure that this knee doesn't kind of start to creep back here like this. Pushing that knee forward, pushing into that. You'll feel, again, the stretch in the hips. Probably you're in your piriformis area as well, which tends to be a tight part for most people. All right, going into a small quad stretch here. Modified wheel to where you just kind of slide over your quads here, open everything up. It feels really good. All right, down on the floor. I like egg rolls, but I modify them and go side to side egg rolls here. Very good on the low back muscles. I will plant my feet for a second to do a quick glute bridge, just to feel everything and see how everything is going. Then I'll come back down, and then we're going to do another glute stretch here where you're going to be crossing right leg over the left leg. I've had to scoot my body over a little bit. And then you're going to be actively pulling down to the right side. I believe this might be called deer pose in yoga. Don't at me if it's wrong. So basically for this one, you're trying to push your shoulder into the floor as you actively pull towards the quad, almost trying to roll it back. It's a great stretch. You're going to feel it all down the back side here, into that glute here. It's a fantastic stretch. And I kind of play with it a little bit to see kind of what angle of my leg do I feel most. Do I feel it more today in my straight leg? Do I feel more of it in a bent leg? So play with this. This is what I encourage you guys to do. Find what works for you. Let's switch sides here. So crossing over, going to the other side here, letting the knees fall, still pushing that opposite shoulder into the floor. And again, playing with what you feel as far as straight leg, bent leg, but feeling it more so in that glute area and a little bit here in the low back as well. We're almost done, guys. All right. Then I like doing a little more side to side, modified egg rolls after this. Then we're going to go into lying pigeon. So remember, before we did it seated, we're going to do it lying down. So similar rules apply here. Bent, foot is on the knee, and then you're going to actively try to pull the knee towards your chest. I like putting my right hand and pushing against this knee while I'm trying to pull towards my chest. It helps keep everything in line, and I feel it a whole lot more, and it sucks. So we'll pull here, switch sides, cross left leg over, push up, pull the knee into your chest while actively pushing this knee to keep it at a good angle to where you feel it in your hips. Really, really, really sucks. Awesome. All right, last thing we're going to do, it's called Happy Baby. It's fantastic in yoga. I love it. It makes you feel fun. So, lifting both feet up, grabbing the inside of the feet. I am trying to actively pull back with my elbows. It's going to open up adductors, hamstrings, hips, everything. I like moving side to side. You know what a baby looks like when it does this. It's kind of fun. So, all right, we have reached the end of the mobility flow. I do spend a couple of minutes here taking some deep breaths, saying some good I am statements. Expressing some good gratitude at the end of a mobility flow is always, always a good thing, but that's going to take care of it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it encouraged you to find what works for you in terms of mobility. Don't be afraid to do this kind of stuff. Take your recovery very, very seriously and help yourself feel better over time. But like the video, subscribe, comment below any questions that you have about the video as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will catch you guys in the next one.